We begin today the Gemara towards the bottom of Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis, about 12 or 13 lines up from the bottom of the Yamud, where it says Rab Meir Oimer. So the Gemara here quotes from what it said in the Mishnah, Rab Meir Oimer Ba'avadim Oimeloi Harei Shalach Lefanecha. Okay, so the Bava Kama in the Mishnah said, when a person steals either behemoths or avodim, and then its condition changed, it got weaker, older. So what happens is, because of the shinui, the gazlan is kaina, the behemoth itself, or the avodim themselves, and then they just have to pay back the value that it was at the time of the geneva. Rab Meir argues. Rab Meir says by avodim you can't be kaina, because avodim are compared to karkais, and by karka you never kain it, and you always give it back in its condition the way it is today to its owner. That's the point Rab Meir says. The Rav said we paskin like Rab Meir. Frek the Gemara, the Rav shavik Rabbanan v'avet Rab Meir. Rav leaves the majority opinion of the Rabbanan and paskins like Rab Meir. Why would he do that? So Amri, they said to answer this, mishum de braise ibchetanya, because Rav had a braise that brings the same halacha as the Mishnah, but it brings the opinions in the reverse. That it's the Rabbanan that said that the Eved is compared to Karka. So when he says the halacha is like Rab Meir, he meant to say the way it appears in the Braisa. Right. So in other words, he's really paskening like the Rabbanan. The Gemara will soon explain. But that's he's paskening like the Rabbanan, like it says it in the Braisa. Frek the Gemara, Rav Shavik Masnisin and Ovid Kibraisa. You're telling me that Rav is taking the version of this argument the way it appears in the Braisa over the version the way we have it in a Mishnah. A Mishnah is much more reliable always than a Braisa. Why is he taking the Braisa? And says the Gemara, Rav Masnisin Nami Epchatani. Rav switches the names of the opinions in the Mishnah as well. So the Gemara questions that, but on my time with the Rav, the Apich Masnisin, the Kami de Braisa. Why would Rav switch the opinions in the Mishnah? It seems like that he's switching the opinions of the Mishnah because he saw that in a Braisa the opinions are brought opposite, so he switched it in the Mishnah as well. Why he should do the opposite? Adarab and Nepech LeBraisa Mekami Masnisin. He should switch the opinions in the Braisa because of the way it appears in the Mishnah. So it still doesn't really answer our question. Why he's taking the version of the Braisa over the Mishnah? So the Gemara gives two answers to this. One answer is Omri, they said, Rav, Nami, Masnisin, Ibche, Isne. Rav, the way his Rebbes taught him, the version of the Mishnah itself, he was taught the version of the Mishnah, the opinions, the way it appears in the Braisa, not the way we have it over here. Not that he switched the Mishnah because of the Braisa. That's how he originally got the Girsa in the Mishnah. Or I can give you a different answer. When do I say that I'm not going to switch the version of a Mishnah because of the version of a Braisa? That's Choda Mikami Choda. When you have one Mishnah versus one Braisa, so then the Mishnah is stronger than the Braisa. However, Choda Mikami Tarti, if you have a version of the Mishnah, just one Mishnah, versus two Braisas that say the opposite, so then Apach. So then you switch the version of the Mishnah to fit with the two Braisas that say the opposite. So over here, regarding this point, what do Chachamim hold? Do Chachamim hold that by a Eved you say that he's similar to Karka, and therefore there's no change that you can be kained through this? So in our Mishnah it said that Chachamim hold that an Eved is like Metaltlin. It's Rabbi Meir that said that an Eved is like Karka. But Rav had already one Braisa that said the opposite. No, it's the Chachamim that said that an Eved, there's no change that the Gazlan will be kained because an Eved is like a Karka. Here the Gemara brings another Braisa where you see this same point that the Chachamim are the ones that hold that an Eved has a halacha like a Karka. Where do you see this? The Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, a person was exchanging a cow for a donkey, v'yoldo, and it gave birth. And as we'll see at the continuation of the Braisa, it's not clear exactly whether the birth was before the sale, and therefore the cow that's born still belongs to the first owner of the cow, or it was after the sale. Now it belongs to the buyer, the one that was before the Bava Kama. Rashi explains the reason why the Braisa uses the expression of hamachlif, even though you'll see right over here, right afterwards, it says hamoicher. Why doesn't it say over here as well hamoicher para, something like that? Is because usually when you sell an ox, you sell a cow, how do you sell it? It's with meshicha. You have to bring it into your property. So if that's the case, in a usual case, there can't be any suffix when it was born. You see, it's right in front of you. You can't be kaina with kesef. You just pay someone for this cow and it's not in your presence. You do meshicha, it's right there. So Therefore, the Brisa brings dafka this case of machlif para b'chamoyer, because when you exchange a cow for a donkey, so then if you're Moishech, if the Bala Pada is Moishech the Chamoyer, it doesn't make a difference where the Pada is, it doesn't have to be in his presence, the Kinyan takes effect. The Bala Chamoyer is going to be kind of the Pada, even if it's not in front of them, B'chlal. So therefore, this is an example where it's possible that there should be a suffix when it was born, before or after the sale. A person sells a maidservant, the Yoldan, she gave birth, and over here, this sale with the maidservant is with money. So this, it says, this could be you paid for it and it wasn't in their presence. And now it's unclear when she gave birth. So there's a few different options of scenarios of what these two people are claiming about this and what the halacha would be. There's a lot of different details here that's explained regarding the pshat on this brayse and Gemara and Bava Metzia. Let's just say Bekitzer a little bit. This Gemara is bringing this brayse here just for one point, but there's a lot of details in this brayse really. Now, one case is Ze Oime B'Reshusi Yolda. One of them says that it was born in my possession, V'Hallah Sheisik, and the other one is quiet about it. So Zachaba, the one that says the Taina's body, he knows, he's saying, I know for a fact it was born when it was still in my possession, so he's going to be Zeichet because the other one has no Taina, the other one is quiet. So according to some opinions, or the way the Gemara explains it, either this is talking about when this is in a simta, where nobody has any chazaka on it, or the one that's saying the Taina's body is the one that has the chazaka. That's why he's going to be Zeichet with his Taina. Another option.
What time? One was in the Chiyah, one was the...
No. So I explained before, you can't, because over here the sale happened when it wasn't even in front of them. The potter wasn't in front of them. They didn't see. Ze oimer. Another option of what happened over here is, what are their tainas? Ze oimer eni yedeya, v'ze oimer eni yedeya. Both of them are saying, okay, we're not aware. We weren't there. None of them know what happened. So what do you do in such a case? Yach loiku. You divide this vlad, this part of that was born, you divide it between both of them. This is, the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, it's the opinion of Sumchis. When there's a suffix, what do? You have to divide it. Another case is, both of them are saying a Taina's body that it was born in my possession. What do you do now? So Yeshava HaMoicher, the seller of the Parah, he's the one that should be swearing that it was born in his, when it was still in his possession, and therefore I only have to give you the Parah and not the Vlad that was born, because the Vlad was born before. And the reason why we say that in such a case the Moicher is the one that swears and not Lekeach, the rule is that anytime you have to make a Shvuah min HaTorah, and this Shvuah over here is also a Shvuah min HaTorah. And Rashi explains very simple why. Because this is basically a case of Maida b'miktsas. The Meicher is saying that I owe you the Parah. That was the exchange that we made. But the Vlad now, I don't owe you. So he's being Maida for the Parah, and he's being Makhish that I don't have to give you the Vlad. So that's a Maida b'miktsas. There's another detail that Rashi adds to this. Usually by Maida b'miktsas, in such a kind of case, it would not have the halacha of Maida b'miktsas. Why not? Because this is called Heilach. You're the actual Parah that you're Maida in, you're giving it right now. When you're Maida by Maida b'miktsas, it's not Maida b'miktsas unless you're Maida and you're not paying it right away. Here, when you're giving the Parah right away, it's not Maida b'miktsas. So Rashi brings that the Gemara in Bava Metzia says that even the Parah that the person is giving is not complete. There's a hand cut off. It's not a complete Parah, so he's not giving it completely as well. So, but it's the Meicha, the one that swears, because all the ones that make a Shvuah min HaTorah nishbam v'lei mishalmen. They make a Shvuah and you don't pay. Right, so over here, the Meicha, which is the one that is the first owner, and he wants to hold back from paying, so he's the one that makes the Shvuah. The Lekeach, though, would not make a Shvuah and then try to come and take out money from this Meicha. Because a Shvuah min HaTorah, you can't be Meitzi moment through a Shvuah. Divrei Rav Meir, this is what Rav Meir says. Chachamim say, Ein ishboim, loyal avodim, v'loyal kakois. Regarding the case of where there's a doubt regarding the maidservant that gave birth. If before or after the sale, for that you can't make a shvuah at all. Why? Because you never make a shvuah, not on avodim and not on karkois. Karkois, this is learned from a pasuk. There's a drasha that says that you only make a shvuah on things that are metaltalin, on movable items, not on karkois. And over here, the avodim are compared to karkois, and there's no shvuah. So here's the second braise where you clearly see who's the one that says that avodim are compared to karkois. Chachamim, not Rav Meir. So therefore, Rav accepted the opinion of two braises, the Chacham are the ones that say this, against the version that we had in the Mishnah, that Rav Meir is the one that says that avodim are karkais. So okay, so now the Gemara asks on this, if that's the conclusion here, so if so, hi, halacha k'Rav Meir. So this that he quoted the name of Rav, that Rav said that the halacha is like Rav Meir, halacha k'Rabbanan mibayile. He should have said that the halacha is like the Rabbanan, because according to Rav's version, the halacha is like the Rabbanan. They're the ones that said that Eved is compared to Karka. Answers the Gemara, Hachi Kama. This is what he said in the name of Rav. L'maydav chisu v'tanisu. According to your version, that you switched the names in the Mishnah, and you taught that Rav Meir is the one that says that Avadim are compared to Karkais, halacha k'Rav Meir. So I'm saying, even according to your version, that the halacha is like Rav Meir. But really what he meant to say is that the right version is, like you have it in two braises, that the halacha really is like the Rabbanan. Frag the Gemara, but Rav, is it true that Rav said, Avde k'mekarkoi domi, that a slave, or Eved Kanani, has the halacha like karka, which is also again relevant b'negei to gzela, that when you steal a slave, he's always in the possession of the original owner. There's no shini that takes effect. Here the Gemara will bring up, there's another halacha that applies to this, but so we see though that Rav said a halacha which seems like Rav holds that Eved is not like karka. Rav Daniel, Barav Ketina, Rav. He said in the name of Rav as follows: a person that went ahead and grabbed his friend's slave, and he used him for himself to do work for himself. Pater, so he'll be pater to pay for the owner, to pay him. He didn't have to hire a slave; he just grabbed a slave. He'll be pater to pay for the owner. For the work that he did for him. Now the question is, why would he be potter? This will depend on whether this is metaltalin or karka. This you're going to say that like Rav, we just explained Rav's opinion, that Av the kemekarkoi domi, that a Eved Kanani has the same halacha like a piece of land. Am I potter? Why should you be potter for using your friend's slave and working with it? You should have to pay him for this. But Rishusa the mare koi. While you're using his Eved, he's in the ownership of the master. So just like if you would go and live in someone's house, live in or be in someone's property without his permission, you didn't pay him rent. You have to go ahead and pay him rent for using his living in his house, living in his property. So over here as well, if you're using someone's Eved, and you have to pay for this every moment that you're using the Eved, it belongs to you, and you have to pay. Now, what the Gemara means to ask over here is, on the other hand, though, if this Eved has a halacha of metaltalin, it's a movable item, so then over there, that halacha does not apply. As we had already before, by metaltalin, if you take someone's para and you plow with it, you use it, and then you return the para as is. So you were Mekayim, you gave it back. You don't have to pay for this, that you used it, for the work that you did. The Gemara brought before that there was a case where Rav Nachman gave a knas to a Gazlan that was doing this again and again. But in a regular case, the Torah says that there's a certain concept called kinyani gezela. While it's in your possession, you have responsibility to return it in its condition, the way it is to its original owner. But if you use it in between, and then you return it, you don't have to pay for any usage that you have in between. But that's not by karka though. By karka, it's like I moved into someone's house and then I say, I'm returning the house to you. I'm leaving after a week. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have to pay rent for that week that you were there. So if a eved is compared to karka, you should have to pay for all this time that you used this person's slave. So the Gemara answers, what are we talking about over here? You went and grabbed this eved of someone and used it for yourself in a time where he's off, where he's not working anyways. So the owner is not losing out from this. This is what's called zen nene v'zel loy chaser. You're having a benefit of using his eved, but he's not losing anything out. He's off. He's not on a time that he's off anyways. And the Gemara brings the example for this, which we had earlier in the Masechta regarding this halacha of zen nene v'zel loy chaser. Ki ha the shalach le rababa lemari bar mar. So the question was asked by him, boy mine Rav Huna. The question was asked from Rav Huna. Hadar b'chatza chavere shalom midaitay. You live in a person's courtyard or in a person's house without his permission. Tzorech lahalas leischar or ain't tzorech lahalas leischar? Do you have to pay him rent for living there without his permission, or you do not have to pay him rent? Now, as Rashi explains, we had this before, that the question over here is in a situation where this house is not designated for any rental anyways. It's sitting there empty. And you're just living there and you're not causing any damage. So zenana, you're having a nobe living there and the owner is not losing anything out from this. Do you have to pay for this? And he answered him back, you don't have to pay rent for this. Zanena v'zelei chaser. The rule is you don't have to pay. So here as well with this eved, you're using him on his off time. So why should you pay for it?
Can you have something before that? But the shvach that he made.
The what? The what?
The shvach that he worked in and he made.
No. Okay, let's have 1 second. So the Gemara here asks that the case of this house and the case of the Eved is not exactly the same. Why not? Frek the Gemara, hachi hashta. How can you compare the two things? Over there, when it comes to living in someone's house, which the owner left empty and it's not designated for a rental. So there, we had earlier in the Masechta, there were two opinions explaining why you don't have to pay the owner for living there. Because you're actually doing something which he's not losing anything at all. There's actually a certain benefit that the owner has by you being there. And there are two opinions about this. One opinion was whether, according to the opinion that says, Beisa Meisve Yosef Nichale, a house which is settled, which someone is living there, the owner actually, it's better for him than having an empty house. She explains when you have someone that's actually living there, so he sees if there could be a leak in the house, he'll notice it, he'll take care of it. If there's a crack, he'll take care of it. A house that's left empty, so things could happen and then things could get ruined. So he actually appreciates the fact that someone is living there and it's good for him. So that's why over there you don't pay. But you can't say that svar over here regarding Evet Kanani. And Bein Laman Damar, another opinion that explained there why the owner appreciates that you're there when it's not designated for a rental. The pasuk says Shi'iyah Yukashar, that there's this Shin Dalet that has this. That's the name of Shia goes in a Shin Dalet that hangs out in places which are these abandoned places. And now that you're there, so you make sure that there shouldn't be any Shin Dalets over there. So therefore, the owner is the owner is happy that you're there. But over here, when you're using his eved, even though it's his off time, but me nichale de nikhish avdei. Does the owner want you to use his eved when he has his off time, when he's on vacation, and now he's going to be weaker, he won't be able to work for his master the way he should? So the Gemara answers, no, even over here, the owner actually is happy that you're doing this. So Amri, they answered, here as well, we could say that the owner is happy that when this eved is off, you're also using him and putting him to work. Why? Because like this, the eved won't get accustomed to just roaming around and doing nothing and just not working. In fact, you're putting him to work, the master is happy for this, that you're training his eved that he should always be working. So therefore, this is something which is again in the category of zen nene, v'zelei chaser. It's actually something the owner is happy about, and therefore you don't have to pay for this. So Gemara brings a story in connection to this. By Rav Yosef Bar Chama, by the house of Rav Yosef Bar Chama, have a tokif avde. They would go and grab slaves, the inchi from people, the masik bozuzi, that owe them money. So the people owe them money, and they weren't paying up. So they went and they grabbed a slave from them to get the value to do work for him. That was their custom. Oh, Malay Rabbi Berei. So Rabbi, his son, or Rabbi, his son, challenged the father and asked him the question, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing that they should take a Evet Kanani to work for you from people that owe you money? My time of it, Marachi. Why are you doing this, taking a Evet Kanani without permission of the owner to work for you? Malay. So he answered him, the Amar of Nachman, because Rav Nachman said, Avde nohoim kreise loy shavi. An Evet, a slave, even the value of the food that you feed him, his work is not even that value. Meaning the fact that I'm grabbing these slaves and I'm taking them to work for myself, but I'm giving them to eat. The master is not losing anything out from this, because the master, he would have to feed them. And the work that he does for the master is not any more than the feeding. So I'm feeding them, which is the same value, or maybe even more than the work that he does for the master. So I'm taking care of this evet for the master. So therefore, the master is not losing anything out from this. Amalei. So again, Rabbi challenges his father and asks him, when did Rav Nachman say such a thing about an eved, that his work is not even worth the money of the food that he's being fed? Only a specific kind of a slave. Going Doru Avde, it's referring to Doru, which was Rav Nachman's eved, the market Bekuvi. He couldn't do regular work. All he would do is, he was like this entertainer. He would dance around between stores to entertain people. Not something which was very valuable. And so therefore, this eved, what he had to feed him, was worth more than the entertainment that he was doing. But Kulu Avdi, usually any other slave, Meved Avdi, they work, they can do things that are much more valuable, and therefore, if you're taking away this eved from the master, you're stealing something from the master that he's losing out from this, that he could have put him to work and he would have a value much more than the food that you're feeding the slave. Amalei, so Rav Yosef Bar Chama,
He took him because he owed money.
yeah, Nechanami, but still you can't steal, you can't take without, you have to go to a Bezdin, he would just grab these slaves. Amalei, so Rav Yosef Bar Chama answers and says, and I gave another excuse to say why he did this. Anok Rav Daniel Svirali. I hold like what we quoted before, like Rav Daniel said. The Amar Rav Daniel Barav Ketine Amarav Hatoikev Ba'avde Shachaveirei. If you go ahead and grab a person's slave, also by Malacha, and you did work with him, potter. So you potter with the work that you did. Like we said before, in a situation where the Eved was on his off time and you went and you grabbed a slave to work for you, that's what happened over here with Rav Yosef Bar Chama. He just took the Eved of these people when they were on their off time. So Alma, we see, as we explained before already, Nichele, the owner is happy about this, the Leilisteri Avde, that his Eved shouldn't just go around and get used to not working. But still, Rav challenged this and said to his father, Hanimili, when is that allowed? That's if the people, if you're taking someone's Eved and you're putting him to work in the off time, and the owner's happy about this, that person doesn't owe you any money. But Mar, over here, the master, he's talking to his father, Kivin the Masik Buhu Zuzi, because you're taking it from people that owe you money. Mechzi kiribis. This is going to look like ribis. People are going to think that you're using the Eved in a time when it does have a value to the master. And then what happens if you're going to get paid back the money that they owe you, and you also use their Eved Kanani free of charge? So then it comes out that you're getting paid extra, more than what you should have. So even if this is not really ribis, because you only took it in the time when the Eved was off, and the master's happy about this, he's not losing anything out, so there's no extra charge here, but it looks like ribis, so you shouldn't be doing this. And he brings a source for this. The Amar of Yosef Bar Minyomi Amar of Nachman. Ava Bisha Amru, going back to the case we had before, even though it was said, Hador b'chatzar chavere shalom yedayte ein tzarich lahalas leschar. If you live in your friend's house and it's in a case where it's not designated for rental and he's not losing anything out, as we explained before, so you don't have to pay him any rent for this. However, hilvo v'dor b'chatzar chaverei. If it's a case where you lent this person money and he owes you money, and now, besides the fact that he's going to pay you back for the loan, you just go and live in his house without paying him, then it's going to look like ribis. Tzarech lahalas leschar. So in order that it shouldn't look like ribis, you're going to have to pay him for living in his house. Again, even though it's not actual ribis, because it's a case of zanen of his chaser, but nevertheless, it could look like ribis, so you're not allowed to do this. So after this entire discussion, on Malay, he told his son, Hadribi. So I retract. Yeah, you're right. I take back what I did, and therefore this shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be taking an Eved Kanani from someone because it looks like ribis. Itmar, we learned another similar halacha. A person went and grabbed somebody's boat and used it for himself. He did work with it. So how much now you're giving it back to the person? Rav says, Rotza, the owner of this boat, if he wants schara noitel, he can charge you for the rental of this boat. Ratza pachasa noitel. And if he wants, he can charge you also for any damages that there are in the boat through your use. So it depends. If the rental covers it, so then he charges you rent. If there's additional damages which are even more than what the rental price is, then he could charge you even more for the damages. Shmuel says, "Ein noitel ela pachasa." He could only collect the money of any damages that were caused, but you can't collect any money of the rental. It's going back to the point that we said before, because when it comes to any metaltalin that you steal, while it is in your possession and you use it, so you used it, you're not allowed to steal, you're not allowed to use it, but if you used it and you just give it back afterwards, as long as you gave it back in its condition, then that's it. If there's any damages, so then you have to make sure to give it back in the condition it was when you stole it, but you can't charge them any additional rent for this. Rav Papa explained, they're not really arguing over here, because really everybody would agree that you could just give it back, make sure that it's in the condition the way it was originally, and give it back. So why did Rav say differently? Rather, the case over here is like this. If it's a case where the boat it's a rental boat, that's what it's designated for. So it's on that Rav said that you either pay the damages or you pay the rental. If it turns out that the rental of the boat has more value than the little damages that he might have made over here in this boat, so you can actually charge him for the rent, because that's what it's designated for. And Shmuel was talking about a case where the boat is just a private boat, it's not designated for a rental. So over there you just pay the boat back the way it was and make sure that whatever damages there are, you can charge him for that, but not for any rental. Vibai Seima, another version to explain what the difference between Rav and Shmuel is, and they're not arguing. In both cases, they were speaking about a case that it was made for a rental. But nevertheless, the Nochasla Adaita Dagre. Over here, it depends on the attitude of the Gazlan, the person that took it. If it's a person that took it and he took it without the person's permission, but he took it as a rental, he said he took it with the thinking that he's going to pay for the rental. So then over there, you pay for the rental that you took it for, or you pay for the pras, for the damage that there was. Depends what's more. But if you're just taking it as a gazlan, so then by exela, the halach is you give it back as is b'shas exela, and you have to pay for the pras that there was, that it should be in the same condition it is as you stole it. But there's no, for the rental, you don't have to pay at all. Going back to the Mishnah said, Gozal, Matbeya, V'nizdak v'chulu, an example of something that a person stole and there was a shinoi and you're kainet and therefore you only give back the money of it. So you stole a Matbeya and the Matbeya cracked. That's one example. Amar Rav Huna, so Rav Huna explains, Nistak means Nistak mamish. That at mamish cracked, you see clearly there's a shinoi here in this coin. That's when you're kainet the coin, you have to give back the value of it. That's been negated to this case. Now, in the continuation of the Mishnah, it says you stole a coin and then it was nifsal. Nifsal means it's not anymore used in the circulation. It's not the currency that's used anymore. What does this mean? Paslasei malchus. Nifsal means that the government took it out of circulation. So this coin is not anymore invaluable. But this is a kind of a shinui where you don't notice any shinui in the physical coin. So this actually you can give it back as is. That's what it said in the Mishnah. That's Rav Huna's pshat in the Mishnah. Rav Yudah says different pshat. Paslasei malchos. If the kingdom, the government took out this coin from the circulation, it's not used as the currency at all anymore. Hainu nistak. That will have the same halacha as if the coin itself cracked. It's a kind of a shinui that it's totally not usable as a matbeya, and therefore this is a shinui that you kain it, and now you have to give back the value of the money of this coin the way it was when you stole it. What did the Mishnah mean when it said that it's nifsal, that it can't be used in the circulation? It means shepaslasai medina zu, that there's in one medina, there's in one area, in one country where it's not used anymore. But there's another place, there's another country where it still could be used. Right, so therefore over here, that's considered to be a shinui, which is not nicker, because there's another place where it could be used. The Gemara now will ask, on both of these opinions, as follows. Let's see. So first in the first opinion, Rav Huna's opinion, the Gemara asks, Lidi doch. According to your pshat, the Omrit, you said that what does nifsal mean? Paslasai malchus. That it's completely taken out of circulation in any place. But if so, harei peir is very kivu. The other examples the Mishnah brings up, if a person stole fruits and it got rotten, or yayim vehechmitz, he stole wine and it lost its original taste, it became like vinegar. So the Gemara here is actually focusing on the second case regarding the wine, when it becomes like vinegar. Isn't that similar to this coin here, which is taken out of circulation all over? Because this wine as well, when you take a look at the wine itself, it seems like it's just wine. It doesn't have the same. If you're going to taste it, you'll see it doesn't have the same taste. But if you look at the wine, externally it looks like the same wine. So it's similar to this coin. You look at the coin, it looks like the same coin, but it's not anymore used in circulation. The Ketani, and the Mishnah says, Mishalam kashas exele, that over there, that you're kainet, and you only pay kashas exele. So why don't we say the same thing benegayet to the coin that's taken out of circulation, that you should have to pay back kashas exele? So he answered him, no, you can't compare these two things. Hassam, when it comes to the wine that's now vinegar, even though externally it looks like the same wine, but there's something physical that you could see that it's not the same. Nishtane taimoi verechoi. The taste and the smell is not the same. So therefore that's a noticeable change. Over here it's the same physical coin, even though it's taken out of circulation completely. And now if you look at this coin and you compare it to other coins that are being used in circulation, you see right away, this coin, someone's going to give you this coin to pay for something, you'll see right away, what's this coin? This is totally out of circulation. But nevertheless, the physical coin is the same, so therefore you can give it back as is.
You say more than wine.
Huh?
The wine can like you say
By the wine,
the color even else.
Okay, could be. Okay. Okay, but the Gemara doesn't mention the color. I don't know. Maybe it could be in such a way it turns into vinegar, even when the color remains the same, or it's so minimal that you have to be a maven to see that. The Gemara now asks on the second opinion of Yehuda. Amalei Rabba Rav Yehuda, Rabba asked Rav Yehuda, Lidi Dochta Amris. According to your opinion, what did he say? Paslos Malchus Nami said that. What's the pshat over here? Of that if the Malchus, meaning if the entire government doesn't allow to use this coin at all. Hainu nistak. He said that this is a shinui that's noticeable and it's compared to the coin getting a crack in it. So he asked him, if you consider such a coin which is totally taken out of currency to be a real shinui, if so, there's another case that the Mishnah mentioned. Hare trume v'nitmis. If he stole someone's trume and it became tamei, so this is now trume that no kohanim can eat at all. The chi paslasei malchus dami. Isn't that similar to a coin that's totally taken out of circulation? So in both cases, it's not something where physically you can see a difference in it. But in both cases, just like the coin is totally taken out of circulation, the truma cannot be used by any kohen either. By the truma, the Mishnah says you can give the truma back as is, and Rav Yehuda says by the coin, when it's totally taken out of circulation, then you cannot give back the coin as is. You kain it, and you have to give back the original value of it. What's the reason for the difference? Amalei, so Rav Yehuda answers, Hasam loy minke hazeke. When it comes to the truma that became tamei, there's no way you could notice the fact that it's tamei. The physical truma looks the exact same like every other truma. Hacha minke hazeke. Over here, even though the physical coin is the same, but nevertheless, the change here that happened is something which is noticeable. As I mentioned, you come to the store, you bring this coin, which is out of circulation now. Everybody sees right away that this coin is different than other coins. It's out of circulation. So the very fact that it's different than other coins, that's something that's considered to be nicker, that you're going to be kainet, and you give back the original value that it was. Itmar, we learned in Machlekes in connection to this halacha, when a coin goes out of circulation, Hamalves chaveroi ala matbeya. A person lent to someone, and Rashi says what it's talking about is not a regular kind of loan, but it's talking about merchandise, and it's alamat beya. And for those merchandise, he made up with him, you're going to pay me back the value of money for these merchandise. Basically, a person that's giving you merchandise on credit, now you have to give him back money for this. But now, the nifsala hamat beya, the original coin of circulation that was used when he gave you this merchandise, is not anymore a coin that's available. It's out of circulation. Rav Amar. Huh?
He didn't give him money.
He lent him, he gave him merchandise. Almanas that he'll pay him up later on credit. And now that coin that was used in circulation at that time is out of circulation. So Rav says, you're gonna, when it comes to pay for this merchandise, you're gonna have to pay him with the coins, with the currency that's used, that's now available in that time period. So, okay, that's Rav's opinion. Shmuel says, no, he could pay him the original coins that was in the currency when he got this merchandise from him, because he can say to the seller, go take the coins that I told you that I would pay you then, even though over here it's out of circulation in this area, but you can travel far away, go to a place called Meishon, far away, and over there that coin is still in circulation, and you'll be able to use it there. So Rashi here points out that this whole shaila in the Gemara is specifically in a case where the person is selling you merchandise and credit, and he makes up you're going to pay him for this. So now the question is, you have to pay him the currency today or the original currency. But if it was a regular loan where you don't make up anything specific, it's not I'm going to pay you money for this merchandise, but it's just a loan where they don't make up anything. So in such a case, it's obvious that you have to give back the money according to its currency the way it is today. That's Rashi's pshat here on this. Tosfos says a little bit different. Tosfos says that it depends if they made a clear condition or not. It doesn't make a difference if it's merchandise or not. The lashon of the Gemara, Hamal v'schavere al hamatbeya, the words al hamatbeya means they made specifically a condition on paying you back al matbeya. Because that lashon was used by the loan, that's why it becomes a machlekes here between Rav and Shmuel, whether you have to give back the currency that's in circulation today, or you can give him back an old currency which is used in a faraway place. So the Gemara now brings what Rav Nachman said about Shmuel's opinion. Rav Nachman, mistabre milse de Shmuel, it's logical to follow what Shmuel said, only the isle orcha lemeza lemeshan. If there's actually a way that you can travel to the city of Meshan. So then you can say to this person, I'm paying you back these coins, and you'll go over there to Meishon. But if you have no way to travel over there to Meishon, so then there's no way that you can pay him now here with this a currency that's not used anymore and tell him, go travel to Meishon. He can't travel to Meishon. That's a pshat in Shmuel's opinion. So on this, the Gemara asks, Rav Nachman. Rav asked Rav Nachman about this. Benigaya to the halacha of Maisris. This is talking about Maisa Sheni. When you have the produce of Maisa Sheni, so what do you usually do with it? You don't bring the fruits itself to Yerushalayim. You redeem it with money, and the money is brought to Yerushalayim. So the Brisa says, you can't desecrate your fruits, your produce of Maisa Sheni on money that's out of circulation, that's not used anymore. Ketzat, for what's an example for this? So the Brisa is very specific when it brings an example of money that's out of circulation. You had money which is called kuzviyos Yerushalmiyos. This is the coins that were made in times of Ben Kuziba when he was in power, and then he made coins that were called kuzviyos on his name. So these are coins that are old coins that are totally out of circulation. Or coins that are made from earlier kings, from earlier times in history. So it can't be used to desecrate the money, the produce that is of Ma'aseh Sheni for this money. That's the example the Brisa uses. So now the Gemara is medayik why the Brisa brings up specifically these examples of these old-fashioned coins from history, from times before. Now, but it sounds like though if it would be not such old coins, but rather we're talking about over here coins that are from later times, that are from that time period. But dumya derishainim, however, they're out of currency, they're out of circulation. Similar to the coins of Amal that are not being used anymore. Mechalalin. These coins, you could use them to desecrate your Ma'aseh Sheni on them. So what's the Gemara's question? Over here, these coins, they're not in circulation in the place that you are anymore, but you may be able to use them maybe somewhere in Meishon. But the problem is that these coins, though, the person is not taking it to Meishon. He has to bring them up to Yerushalayim. It's not going to Meishon. Rav Nachman said that according to Shmuel, that you could only use these coins if he has a way to travel to Meishon. But over here, he's not traveling to Meishon, he's traveling to Yerushalayim. So how could you say, you see over here from this Brisa, that the coins that are out of currency here, but you can use somewhere else, you could use them to be Mechal the Ma'aseh Sheni on them. Amalei. So Rav Nachman answered, the case over here is when the governments are not makpid one on the other, even though this is out of currency and it's only used in a faraway place, in a different place, over here it's not used anymore, but nevertheless, one kingdom, they're not makpid, one government is not makpid than another government, and the coins could be used over here as well. So now, if that's the case, that's how you're explaining this brisa, so let's go back to what Shmuel said. Elo ki ama Shmuel. So if so, when Shmuel did say that you could only use this currency if it could be used in Meishon. So what was Shmuel talking about? When the governments are very, very particular about the currency, that you should only use their currency and you should not have any other currency with you. If so, so what did Rav Nachman say? That according to Shmuel, you could still pay back with this currency because you can travel and bring it to Meishon. But the Gemara now understands if the Malchi is a Makpida Zu, you can't even travel and bring it over there. The government confiscates this kind of currency. They don't want people to have this currency at all. So the Gemara answers, no, they're taking makbid, but the mamtiluhu are yedei atchak. But nevertheless, if you keep it in your pocket and you travel over there to this faraway place in Meishon, you will be able to bring it there because the leibachashi, they're not going to go and search your pockets and they're not going to see what the currency that you have. So it's still going to be possible to bring it over there. But v'imashkechi though, if they're going to find it, if they're going to see it, then kapti, then they'll take it away from you. So this was the case that Shmuel was talking about. That if you're going to try to use the currency over here in the store, in the bank, it's going to be confiscated from you. But if you're going to want to put it in your pocket and travel somewhere else with it, you'll be able to travel somewhere else. So therefore, Rav Nachman said, you can't use it over here, but you'll be able to travel somewhere else with it. That's what Shmuel was talking about. Tashema, the Gemara brings another brayso about desecrating the produce of Ma'aseh Sheni on the money. You're not mechalel if you want to desecrate using money that's used as the currency in Eretz Yisrael. You can't use that kind of money if the actual Ma'aseh Sheni, the produce is in Bavel. Because over here you're using a currency that's not used in Bavel. Rashi brings that there has to be a currency that's used in this place. That's what we're going to learn out from the pasuk. Or v'shal Bavel v'hein kan, or if you're using the currency from Bavel and you're with your produce of Ma'aser Sheni in Eretz Yisrael, you can't use the currency of Bavel in Eretz Yisrael to be mechal the fruits of Ma'aser Sheni. Shal Bavel v'hein Bavel, but if it's the fruits of Bavel and it's the currency of Bavel, so then mechal it. Then you can use this currency, this money, to desecrate your Ma'aser Sheni. Now, Katani Miyes, what does it say over here? Ein mechalalin al mois shalkan. You can't use the money from Eretz Yisrael veheim bebavel. And when you are in Bavel, you can't use it. Why? Because this money can't be spent over here. It's not money that you can use over here. Now the question is, Afal Gav the Seifei lemeifik lahasam. The question is, but according to Shmuel and the way Rav Nachman explained Shmuel's opinion, you could use a currency to pay back a loan as long as that person that you're paying back can take that money and use elsewhere. You could take it to Meishan and use it. So over here, when you're in Bavel, you want to be Mechalel, you're Peiris of Ma'aser Sheni on this money, why can't you use the money of Eretz Yisrael? Even though the money can't be spent here, but what are you going to do with this money? You're going to travel with it back to Eretz Yisrael. You have to bring this money to Yerushalayim anyways. So if you're going to Yerushalayim, you're able to spend the money there with this. Why can't you use this money? Answers the Gemara, the case over here is when the governments between Bavel and Eretz Yisrael, they're so makpid that Rashi here says here, when the Gemara says makpid, what the Gemara means to say is that they search people. If you're going to be traveling and you're going to try to cross the border from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, they're going to search your pockets and they're going to take away this money from you. You had currency from Eretz Yisrael here in Bavel, they're going to confiscate this money from you. So you're not going to be able to bring it to Eretz Yisrael. That's why in this case, you can't be mechalel the Ma'aser Sheni on this money. If that's the case, that they're so particular and they're going to take away this money from you and they're going to search you even in your pockets, so if social Bavel, veheim bebavel, l'may chazdu. So what did it say? That if you have your produce in Bavel and you're using the money of Bavel, and so then because the money could be spent here, so therefore you can be mechalel the Ma'aser Sheni, but l'may chazdu. What is this money going to be worth? What do you have to do with this money? You have to bring it to Yerushalayim. But you can't bring it to Yerushalayim, because if you're going to bring it to Yerushalayim, they're going to take away the money from you. You just said the case over here is that the Makpidei Zu in Bavel, they search people, they take away the money that you have from Eretz Yisrael, and in Eretz Yisrael, they search people, they'll take away your money that you have from Bavel. So you can't use this money for anything anyways. So how could you be Mechal the Ma'aser Sheni in this? And says the Gemara, Chazu, it still could be used. The Zavambu Beheme or Meisechil Yerushalayim. You can't bring this money to Eretz Yisrael. There they're going to be makbid, they'll take it away. But if you buy an animal over here in Bavel, then you can take this animal up to Yerushalayim. I guess it's easier to take to transport an animal to Eretz Yisrael than the Peiris, because the Peiris get rotten and so on. So you transport the behemoth to Eretz Yisrael. Fragt the Gemara, but now the Gemara is going back to another thing that it said there in the Braise. What did the Braise say? That you can't use the money of Bavel to be machal the Ma'aser Sheni when you're in Eretz Yisrael. That was one of the cases on the Braise. So the Gemara now is going to ask a question on that case. Fragt the Gemara, but Vatanya did it. We learn in the Braise, Hiskinu, the Chachamim instituted, Shiyu, Hamois, or Kol Hamois, I think the Bach says, all different kinds of money. Yotzes v'Yerushalayim ipnei kach. Chachamim made a special takana that any kind of currency from all over should be able to be used and spent in the store in Yerushalayim. People should accept all currencies in Eretz Yisrael. And b'tnei the reason was because people paid machzas hashekel, people brought currencies from all over the world, so they made a takana that all currencies should be accepted. So the question of the Gemara is, why did the Braisa before say that when you're in Eretz Yisrael, don't be mechalel your produce of Ma'aser Sheni of a currency from Bavel? Why not? All currencies, they made a takana that all currencies should be accepted in Eretz Yisrael. Rab Zayda answers, Loi Kashya, this is not a question. Kam Bizman Sheyad Yisrael Takifa. If it's in a time period when the Yidden had the control, and therefore this takana, Alumas Ha'ilam, over the Goyim there, so then this takana that all currencies should be accepted is in effect, and then you could be mechalel your Ma'aser Sheni on any currency from Bavel as well. But then there's the time when the Goyim are stronger. The Gemara uses the term alatzman, but it means over Yidden, and Yidden can't make any takanas. So then the currency of Bavel will not be accepted in Eretz Yisrael. So you can't be mechalel your Ma'aser Sheni on the currency of Bavel. Let's just see one more thing. The Gemara finishes off a very interesting thing regarding the currencies, the kinds of coins that we used in those times. Tana Rabbanan Abraisu we learned. Ezel Matbeya Shal Yerushalayim. What was the matbeya in those times of Yerushalayim? What kind of a picture did it have on it? David u'Shloime mitzad echad. David and Shloime Melech was written on it from one side, and Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh mitzad acher. And Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh was written on it on the other side. Ve'zeh matbeya shel Avram Avinu. What's a matbeya from the times of Avram Avinu? Zakin u'Zekena mitzad echad. It's written on it Zakin and Zekena on one side, and this refers to Avram and Sarah. And Bacharu Besula mitzad acher, and then it's written on it Bachar and Besula, the younger ones, which goes on Yitzchak and Rivka. That was written on the other side.